I want to talk a little bit about feet and Aikido. Feet are our contact place with the earth, and they're really, really important. And we don't pay enough attention to them. I want to point out that the foot acts like a triangle. 1, 2, 3 places. One by the big toe, one across from it on the little toe, and one on the heel. And it's really important to bear in mind when paying attention to your feet that you have 3 good points of contact. Of course, there's more than that, but if you think of those 3 and maintain balance using those 3 points, it'll really help. So here's how weight should be distributed on the foot most of the time. This is not a... Sometimes things change in the middle of a technique, but in general, balanced evenly between the 2 sides of the foot, more forward on the foot than on the back. So these 2 points receive more of the weight than the heel, but the heel does stay in contact. You want that 3rd point. Otherwise, you're just purely up on the balls of your feet and not in as good of contact. So that's the first thing. 1, 2, 3 points of contact with the foot. One of the tendencies people have with their feet is to either put weight on the inside or outside. Let's see, if I remember right, outside is called pronation. And it's when you tip your feet to the outside of your foot. In general, when you sit down on a chair, you just let your feet hang, your weight you'll naturally be on these 2 points, little toe and heel. It'll tend to pronate. Sometimes weight will tend to supinate. It'll come onto the inside of the foot. Your weight will tend to be shifted in. Either way, it's not good for your balance if you're standing on 2 feet. But notice that tendency. For a long time, I tended to rotate to the inside of my foot on my right leg, and my knee was hurting. For years, my knee was hurting. And I finally figured out that I wasn't putting enough weight here, and once I evenly distributed it, my knee fixed itself. It's quite a miracle, actually. But do pay attention to the distribution. Are you tending to focus on these 2 points or these 2 points? So what happens when you lean your foot to the outside is your knee comes slightly to the outside. If I'm on the outside edge of my foot, my weight's there, my knee comes outside. If I receive a downward force, say on my wrist, or a blow downward, my knee is going to tend to collapse that way. On the other side, if my weight tends to be on the inside, if I have a downward force, what tends to happen is my knee tends to collapse that way. So I want to keep my weight evenly distributed side to side so that a downward force comes straight down. So in order to maintain good weight distribution, you have to adjust your posture to do that. If you want to shift your weight slightly forward so it's more forward to center, rather than leaning forward to do that, shift your knees forward. It's always a good idea when doing Aikido, just like in dance, to have your knees slightly bent. So that gets your balance forward just by getting your knees slightly forward. The other thing that happens, when your knees come slightly forward, making sure they're over your feet. So make sure your knees stay over your feet. That's for the safety of your knees. Your hips come rocking slightly forward. So my knees come slightly forward, my hips come slightly forward. It gets my weight slightly forward on the front edge of my feet rather than the back. So I'm more on the balls of my feet, maintaining that bouncy feeling. So if you pay attention to that too with your feet, that'll help with your balance a lot. A good way to practice this is with the technique of Funekogi Undo. It's the rowing exercise that many Aikido dojos do. Pay attention to your feet when you do this. Notice when you shift your weight forward, are you maintaining even distribution of the weight side to side? So watch that. So just feel for that. On both feet, front and back, but you should maintain that even distribution. Second thing, as you shift your weight forward and back, maintain contact with all 3 points. The 2 points on the toes and the 1 point on the heel. Keep them on contact. Even though it's shifting forward more to the balls of the feet or back to the heel slightly, make sure you keep all 3 of these points in contact. It's a really good practice becoming aware of your foot. So practice the rowing exercise, noticing your feet. Another good place to practice placement or feeling of your feet is with a bokken or a jo. And a showman strike's a really good one for this. So again, pay attention to the weight distribution on your feet as you do your strike. Rather than paying as much attention to your sword and the straightness of the cut, really feel your feet. Feel, are all 3 points in contact on both feet? And is weight distribution good on the 2 feet? So, using a bokken or a jo is a good practice.